أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. المؤمنين والمؤمنات, brothers and sisters, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالإمام موسى بن جعفر al-Kazim عليه السلام. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts and increase our rewards as we gather and remember Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kazim alayhi salam in his martyrdom and the demise of the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his supporter and his custodian and guardian, Abu Talib radwanullah ta'ala alayhi, the father of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi afdal as-salawati wa tahiyyat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to follow them in this dunya, grant us the opportunity and the wisdom to follow them in this dunya, and grant us their ziyarah in this dunya and their shafa'ah and their intercession in the hereafter, insha'Allah. I recited the ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah, which are often recited when a calamity or a misfortune happens, a loss of family member, a loss of some sort. Typically when someone loses a loved one, they recite these ayat specifically for that part where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, give good news to the patient ones, the ones who whenever they are struck with a misfortune, they say, we belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we belong to God, and to Him we shall return. This is a means of the believers to first give themselves that confidence and comfort that this is only temporary, this life is only temporary, dunya is temporary, and akhirah is the final abode. The nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nearness to God, is what should be our aim and goal, as that would be our final destination in akhirah, in the hereafter. The question that arises often is, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us through these difficulties? Why the misfortune? Why the loss, as the ayah says, that we will surely test you with a loss of, first with some fear, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ, with fear and hunger. The situation that we're in nowadays, specifically the coronavirus that people are either suffering from or fearful of, is a situation of fear. It brings fear. And it also affects us on many levels. Perhaps some affects them in terms of hunger. بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ, and وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. It affects us financially. It could be a calamity or a problem that specifically affects us financially, or it could be something that has combination of those. And this is one of the examples where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in fact examining and trialing us through various things. And then He says, give good news to the patient ones, as-sabirin, and they are the ones who, whenever they are struck with a misfortune, they say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And then beyond that, the good news here is ulaika. They will have a reward which is above the heavenly rewards that we are often focused on here. Alayhim salawatun. They have blessings from their Lord. Now, in this dunya, we admire and we love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and often we send salawat to them. We say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is confirming that Sabirin have that. Sabirin will get this salawat, the blessings from their Lord, the special blessings from their Lord, and they will have the mercy wa rahmah. And they are the guided ones. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. They are the guided ones. It is very important for us to try and achieve that goal through these difficulties, in fact. And this brings us to the answer. Why does God put us through this? The answer is very simple. It is part of this life. That this life is a trial in order to achieve in the hereafter. In this life, we are going through difficulties, and the more difficulties, the higher our ranks. And that is why the hadith says that, in fact, the people with the most amount of trials or bala are, in fact, the anbiya, the prophets. After them come their successors, or those who testify to their messages, and also the awliya and those who are closer to them. This is the sunnah of this dunya. This is the tradition of this dunya. This dunya is daru bala. It is the home of trial. A test is not meant to be easy. You sit in a test, you're meant to focus. You're meant to focus on the result, on getting the outcome, the best outcome of that test. When you go in a competition, say you participate in a marathon, or you participate in any kind of the Olympic Games, and you're competing, it is not meant to be easy. Those who make the biggest effort and they put their body through the most difficult and the extreme difficulty before and during that, are the ones who eventually, when it comes to the distribution of the medallions, they get their gold medal and so on. They are the winners, they're the victorious ones. And the distribution is not in this dunya for this particular trial that we're in, this dunya. The distribution is in the day of judgment. On the day of judgment is when obviously those who made their efforts and tried and went through trials, and they were successful throughout their trials, no matter how difficult. And the more difficult it was, the more resilient they were, and the more resistance they displayed, and therefore they were given the higher level of a test. The hadith says, if you believe in the school of Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, if you belong to that school and you believe in him and you love him genuinely, then be prepared for bala. فَاسْتَعِدُّوا لِلْبَلَاءِ. This is the reality. This is what we witness, in fact. Those who are most close to Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, throughout the history they have been struck with the most difficult times, most difficult trials. All the ruthless and the dictator or the oppressive dictators of their time were mostly focused on them. Any other group would be perhaps a little bit of difficulty and they would give up, and they were given ease in general. But this particular school, the school of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim, they faced the most difficult and the most in fact torturous of trials and difficulties in this dunya by the tyrants of their time, the oppressive leaders, the dictators of their time. They faced that, and this is part of the trial of Allah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He could have easily given them victory. Victory is from Him. He could have easily destroyed their enemy. It comes times that He does. A destruction comes to their enemy. Fir'aun, after years and years of torturing and killing children of Bani Israel, the Israelites, and killing their boys, any boy that was born was killed immediately, enslaving them, putting them through so much torture. Eventually, it came time, and him and his army were taken in the sea by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that miracle that He gave to Nabiullah Musa ala nabina wa alayhi salam. And other tyrants also faced their ending, some in a very humiliating manner. Nonetheless, they are given chance to perhaps bring oppression and difficulty upon the believers, not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forsaken the believers, not because la lihawan, in the hadith we are told that it's not because they don't have a value in His eyes. No, rather it's the opposite. Their value is in fact increased because they have a status, because they have a value. They are given the more difficult test, and through that their status is raised, and their rewards are increased through their difficulty. In fact, often we give each other condolences in the Arabic language. We say, or in the Islamic terminology, we say Azzamallah or A'zamallah ujurana wa ujurakum. May God increase and make great our rewards. For what? For the musab, for the misfortune. Whether it be the biggest misfortune, the losses and the martyrdom of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, when we gather, like we commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Ashura, on the day of Ashura. This is in fact the recommended statement that we greet each other. Not that we're not allowed to give salam to each other, but it is recommended to also give these specific condolences, to say أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا. In that case, بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. In these nights, بالإمام أبي الحسن موسى بن جعفر al-Kazim عليه السلام. This is a calamity. Now, the real rewards are for those who are really struck by that misfortune. If I lose a loved one and I'm patient, I get the reward of the patient ones in that musab, based on that ayah. If I am so in love with Ahlul Bayt that during the days that we have a martyrdom of one of the members of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I am in grief, I am really sad, then I would get the reward of the patient ones for the musab, for the misfortune that has come upon the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the status obviously will be raised through that, in fact. So the bala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in this dunya, giving different people different levels of bala, it is simply a trial. It is not because He has forsaken anyone, He has forgotten anyone. Therefore, you will find that, and this is the second question that inshallah we will also answer along the same lines. The second question, why the believers? Some of the mu'mineen are asking this question specifically nowadays, saying, for instance, in Iran, people are facing this coronavirus severely. And these are people who are believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and lovers of the school of the Imams, the Prophet and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, lovers of Ahlul Bayt, lovers of the progeny, the purified progeny. Why are they facing this? Again, the answer is, the more of a lover you are and the closer you are, the more of a difficult trial. هر که در این بزم, in the poem, the Farsi poem, the poet says, هر که در این بزم مقربتر است جام بلا بیشترش میدهند. Whoever is closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this competition, in this path, then they will get the more difficult of trials and the more severe of trials in this dunya. And this is how they can shine. They shine, in fact, gold shines through polishing. And they shine, believers, their real pure hearts and the strength of their faith shines through those trials and tribulations and difficulties and worldly misfortunes. It is only a real misfortune, if you want to call someone to be fortunate or to not be fortunate or to have a misfortune. The real misfortune is for one to have a loss in akhirah. Somehow they lose in their trial, in their test, and they lose a status or an opportunity in akhirah. That is the real misfortune. Otherwise, a loss in dunya and difficulties in dunya, any kind of loss in dunya, it is not the real misfortune. Nonetheless, the believers are patient through it, and the more they believe, the higher their trials are. Therefore, those believers in Iran or in any other part of the world, believing men and women who are facing difficulty, it is not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forsaken them. Now some say, is it, and this is the next question that I would like to address as well, is it then a punishment? Is this virus a sort of a punishment for individuals or for humanity in general? For humanity or for individuals, it could be. However, rather than calling it a punishment, I would call it a wake-up call, a slap on the face. Someone is basically asleep, and that sleep is endangering their lives. That sleep is putting them into serious and grave danger. And someone comes and wants to wake them up from that sleep, from that heedlessness that leads to their destruction, to their perishment, and gives them a slap on the face to wake them up. This is the kind of situation that we're in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waking us up. Individuals or the society, both. Some individuals, it is not a punishment for them necessarily. Again, some individuals, it may be a purification for them. It may be a situation of them their status being raised. They had some level of neglect of their duty, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifies them and takes them further in their journey to Him. And through their patience in that difficulty that they're going through, He gives them the higher status and the higher rank in akhirah. For some it is a punishment. For some, Namrud was basically a punishment came to him, and a bug or whatever it was entered his head, and he had to bang his head until he died. That was a punishment for him, but it's not a punishment for everyone. And we cannot point the finger at anyone who's facing difficulty and say, here you go, God is punishing them. No, it could be that their level is being raised and their rank is getting higher, whereas us, with mocking them and ridiculing them, wal-'ayadu billah, we end up losing a status or a rank in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we need to be very careful about that. Nonetheless, yes, this is a big wake-up call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of us, for humanity, on various levels, in terms of those who have become so reliant upon science, technology, advancements of science, medicine, to the point that, if modern day medicine contradicts literature from the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wasalamu alayhim ajma'een, then they would agree or accept the modern day, and they will nullify and basically ignore the teachings of the Prophet and his progeny salawatullah wasalamu alayhim ajma'een, because of how advanced we are technologically, and we have proofs apparently. And statistics talk, well, if you study statistics and the standard of deviation in the normal curve, you will understand that sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes some of the results are not necessarily accurate, and some relationships or some of the correlations could be in fact the simply coincidental, that they happen to be at the same time as the result, but it is not the right correlation. Nonetheless, when we have gone so far in terms of humanity away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Messenger, and Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wasalamu alayhim ajma'een, we are given this reminder and this wake-up call. Also a reminder for mu'mineen specifically, when they come to the teachings of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wasalamu alayhim, and how accurate and how beautiful it is, specifically and especially in what we're going through, and the advice that today's modern science or perhaps the medical researchers have come up with certain advice, and most of it is our stuff that we have been already taught by the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wasalamu alayhim ajma'een regarding hygiene and cleanliness and so on. Nonetheless, again, I say we don't have to wait for science to prove the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt right. We know that they are right if the narrations are accurate and if they are authentic, then we go by them regardless of what science and technology says. And this is a good reminder of that, in fact. And one last controversy or discussion that I would like to bring up is the power of dua and the power of shafa'ah and the power of wasila, whether these things work or they don't work, and how is it that we go to the shrines of the Ma'soomeen, the Prophet and his progeny. We go to the Holy Kaaba for shifa, for getting our hajat, for healing, and for getting our prayers answered. And now we're saying that these places could be putting us in certain risk and endangering our lives, and basically congregating in such places is going to spread the disease. And unfortunately, we have some ignorant ones who have argued against it, and they have been saying it is not right, it is absurd. These are purified places, these are places that are for purification, and people get their hajat, their needs answered, their requests and their whatever they beseech and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered in these places. Therefore, we should not be worried in such places. These are holy places. This, my dear brothers and sisters, is a very, very dangerous attitude and ideology towards the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, in the sense that it would make their lovers and the believers and the school of Ahlul Bayt, it would make it a school of ignorant ones. And why do I say ignorant ones? Because, my dear brothers and sisters, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt themselves taught us to seek the answering of our prayers with some effort on our level, to seek the healing of the sick ones with some effort on our level, with some medicine, with medication. There's a hadith that one of Anbiya of Bani Israel, who was awaiting for his healing to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him that I will not cure you until you seek remedies, you seek the natural remedies that I have made available. It is all from Him. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. When I'm sick, He heals me. He heals me through the means. Yes, sometimes He heals miraculously without any means. These are miracles. They don't happen every day. They don't happen to everyone. They could happen, but they're not that common occurrence, even in the shrines of the Ma'sumin, even in the shrines of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, the Prophet and his progeny, even in Kaaba. Miracles happen, but they're not a common occurrence. They happen in certain times for certain people, for a certain wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, other than that, things have to be sought through their means, and one has to protect from harmful things wherever they may be. If I get a knife in the shrine of the Imam and stab myself, I'm going to hurt myself. Blood is going to come out. If I take poison in the shrine of the Imam, it's going to kill me. If I somehow happen to touch someone who has this specific virus in the shrine of the Imam, and if I somehow get that virus, it's going to affect me. And if I'm vulnerable, if I'm somehow, if I don't have the physical ability to fight that virus, it may very well kill me. It is not a situation of lack of faith or lack of belief in Ahlul Bayt that we are protecting ourselves. Rather, we seek things from their means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it in this way. He has decreed it in this way. And on a formative level, He created the universe in this manner, that certain things have certain consequences, certain actions have certain reactions. This is how He created this universe, and therefore these places are holy. These places are in fact pure and purifying. Most importantly, on a spiritual level, I ask you a question, my dear brothers and sisters. Some people go there. Many millions of people go there. Does everyone who go there free themselves from every disease, including, and on a spiritual level, their diseases of the hearts? Does everyone who go there become a saint, basically, the most pure? That's not what happens. Yes, those who go there with that intention and seek it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they want to get rid of certain characteristics that they may have, it will happen for them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer their prayers if it is genuine, if it is sincere and genuine, if it is from the direction of dua, as Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says. These days we are remembering Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. The Imam was in the prison of Harun la'natullah alayh, and he would have so much torture, in fact, by Harun on different levels, even bringing maids for him in the prison in order to humiliate him or test his, or expose him according to their ignorance. Nonetheless, the Imam changed that individual and made them to be a righteous person, whom turned back to them and said, I could not do anything or think of anything with this man except righteousness, and she became a saint in actual fact. The Imam, after so much difficulty from these people, eventually asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for khalas, for relief. And when he did, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, his prayers were answered soon afterwards. One of his lovers and companions asked him, Matal faraj ya Mawlai, when is the relief? When would we have you? And the Imam says to him, it will be soon, and it will be on Friday on the bridge of Rasafa of Baghdad. The mu'mineen, the lovers, gathered there expecting to see their Imam, soon to hear the guards of Harun, the prison guards, bringing a body carried on a plank of wood and calling, هذا إمام الرافضة صلى الله عليك يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. O Allah, on this night we ask you, we beseech you by the status of this Imam, send the relief to all mu'mineen and mu'minat, Ya Allah, Ya wajihan 'inda Allah, اشفع لنا عند Allah. The Imam was brought there, Ya mu'mineen, the city of Baghdad turned into a city of funeral. Mu'mineen gathered, performed the rituals and buried the Imam respectfully in the cemetery of Quraysh in Baghdad. Yet I say, Ya ibn Rasulullah, there is no day like the day of your father Hussein, your grandfather Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In Karbala, a body after being trampled by the horses, left on the plains of Karbala, a body without head, without burial. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون. والعاقبة